Coach, quickly, just kind of looking back at the Georgia film, anything kind of stand out to you?
Not really. I thought it was a hard contested game. I thought both sides played hard. I thought, just erratic stuff as big plays. So when we got hurt, it was on big plays. When we did good things, it was big plays. And, it really wasn't that far off as far as the score. I mean, it's just because, it's about 5 plays away, really. Because there are a number of ways we could have easily scored 2 more touchdowns and given up 2 less. So,
Mike, I'm curious. A couple of years now of being here, how do you kind of approach the last week or 2 here, where you have 2 games, about 10 days? Do you delegate work at all? Is there anyone that's looking at Ole Miss film already, or are you entirely on East Tennessee State?
Yeah, you do a little of both. Part of it is you've been, watching it all year long. With regard to the other teams you play, you end up. Watching Ole Miss quite a bit anyway, as far as who they play in common. So, and not just them. I mean, you could stick, other than maybe a team or 2 from the East, you could stick any of them at the end, and you watched a lot of film on them.
It's been shared that it was your preference to play this East Tennessee State game at 11 to kind of get it done. So what's your thought process behind that, and how much of an advantage do you think that'll be?
That would have been falsely shared, and I think that they play just as well at night as they do during the day. As a matter of fact, I think our fans perhaps may enjoy it more then, but regardless of when we have games, there are great times to have games, so we go ahead and play them,
Obviously, you guys get a little break from the SEC gauntlet this week. I guess, how do you keep your guys locked in on ETSU rather than kind of looking ahead to Ole Miss next week?
You try to do what you should have been doing the whole time, which is just trying to improve yourself, trying to be the best player you can be and improve your skills. I mean, that's what you got control over. I mean, it's important to know what the other guy's going to do, just so you adjust to his particular characteristics. But this business of all of a sudden you're going to change dramatically how you improve because of what the other guy does. You don't have any control over the other guy. You got control over yourself, or at least you do if you'll take it. And that's what we need to do.
Mike, I think it was after the Kentucky game, you put a lot of the offensive struggles. You took a lot of the blame, on yourself there, and the few weeks that have followed that, obviously still some offensive struggles. I guess, what do you think maybe you guys from the sidelines could do differently to maybe get the offense going in these last couple games?
Well, we played some really good opponents, so I think that makes it challenging. I think the better we protect, the better we play, and then just kind of a combination of everybody getting on the same page as far as executing, and again, I mean, we still have the call out for. I'm looking for some receivers that really want the ball, that just determined to have the ball every play. And, right now we got a group of nice guys that like each other, like the ball, like the team, like the social activities that go along with it. But, we want somebody that, just really wants the ball for the sake of having the ball because, they believe they're better with it than the other guy, the seat next to them.
What have you thought of Massimo in the kicking game past couple weeks? Seems like it's kind of improved.
I think I think it's improved. I think it's definitely improved.
How will you kind of adjust the schedule, I guess, kind of leading into next week? I guess the day off would be the Friday, the mandatory day off. But, will you be in shells, or how will you kind of handle practice?
Yeah, you lighten it up. You try to get some work in, both mental and physical, but you got to lighten it up too. Yeah.
Coach, I see where Rufus leads the team in receptions now. I know he doesn't have a whole lot of yards, but is that just a credit to his hands and catching the football a lot?
Well, I think he's steadily emerged as a player, and he's continued to get better. I don't know when exactly he led the team. I mean, was it recent? I guess. I haven't paid a lot of attention. Yeah, we got a whole bunch of them that are cluttered together there, but, no, he what? Yeah, he could certainly have more than that too. That's the biggest thing is if these guys would separate themselves, we'd throw it more at the guy that specifically separates himself. If all of a sudden you're clearly better than the guy next to you, we're going to throw you the ball more. And the guy next to you can sit and watch you catch the ball more. Either that or find ways to give us some really good reasons to throw it to them more,
We've seen the last few games, in the past defense, guys like Colin Duncan, Sean Preston come up with some pretty big plays, but also a lot of explosive plays allowed. I guess what's kind of maybe the middle ground you guys can, find there and get some more consistency?
Well, we got to get that. We do a good job running to the ball, do a good job getting turnovers, and have been affecting the quarterback some recently. But then you just leave stuff blatantly there, just a little too much space. And, we were explosive as far as turnovers and shutting down some plays, but also giving some up,
When you guys win the opening coin toss, what goes into your decision whether to defer or receive?
Not much. Usually we receive it, I mean, if the other guy wins, they usually give it to you, so we figured we'd try to make it a little more routine.
Mike, when you think back to watching these receivers in camp in August, are you surprised you've reached this point and no one has emerged? Did you think someone would become that guy?
Nah, not a lot. I mean, I wish I could say it more. Because they all do some good things. They all do some good things, but they're not just, we just need guys that kind of that competitive guy that's determined to be the best one, that wants to, hey, I'm the best in this room, and that's it. And there's nothing any of you guys can do about it. We're still searching for that guy. We have guys that get along well. We've got guys that compete well. We got guys that can do some things. We got guys that, are out there playing, and you say, hey, let him have a couple. Oh, okay, he can have a couple. Yeah, it's just, I need guys that, we're looking for somebody that just wants to take charge of it, wants to control it, wants to have it, wants to not give it back.
When you watch ETSU on film, what impresses you about that team?
They play together, and they play together well, and just their overall enthusiasm, and like all teams are dealing with something and battling something, but they're excited to go out there and compete, and kind of like we are.
Yeah. Mike, how'd you get into coaching, and what really made you kind of fall in love with football?
Oh, geez, had to get into coaching. Everybody ought to go buy the book Swing Your Sword, and it's getting towards the holidays, so buy about 10 copies and give them to family and friends. They make tremendous gifts and stocking stuffers. I did, as a kid growing up, everything from the backyard to, just playing stuff, and then, of course, you'd watch it on TV. There was no recording anything. Either you saw it or you didn't. And if you didn't see it very good, you'd go ask your friends, and hopefully they did see it good. So then you'd, pass around or look at it in the newspaper. And then football was, the main, my main priority. And then, then baseball. And then, of course, in the summer when you're not in school and not working, there were baseball teams all over. So pretty young, I started coaching a baseball team when I was 15. And in Wyoming, it was easier to drive around a vehicle when you're 15 than maybe it is some places. And so every summer from 15 through my sophomore year in college, I had a baseball team. So, I'd work all day and then, go coach my practices or games or whatever, and kind of got the coaching bug there. And then as I got to college, I figured, that I wanted to coach, but I was going to go to law school. And then it's like, well, do you become an attorney, or you coach when you retire, or you coach in your spare time? And I didn't know a lot of attorneys with a lot of spare time. I mean, it may look like it. I mean, it's like, like when somebody like really made it, they didn't have any spare time, but boom, they'd go on a cruise for a week and then, be back to the grind, and then, so then it became, coach I figured I'd coach a year, 3 years, and then get it out of my system. And then I've been coaching ever since. So, but yeah, after law school, I started coaching, and then, but wanted to immerse myself in it, do it full time, because I was already broke, and once you're broke, it's like, it's kind of like, they can only kill you once. I mean, they could try to do it more times, but heck, you already did the first time. They already got you, And so then, so I owed the federal government $50,000, which may as well have been $500 million, because they were just as likely to get that as $50,000. And yeah, and just I would take classes in between to defer my student loans. So I got a number of classes and courses and stuff that I may or may not use, or maybe already have, who knows, and to defer the loans, and then anyway, so I'm still coaching.
We talk about wide receivers. Who do you think's the best wide receiver you've had over the course of your coaching career, and then how did they separate themselves just from a mental perspective away from the rest of that receiving corps?
Oh, I've had a bunch. I've had some great ones too. There was a time, and this comes to mind because they were in kind of close proximity to one another. But at nearly every stop, I've had some really good ones. Just read about a guy I had at Washington State today, Kyle Sweet. How about that? Goes over there, bounced around the NFL a little bit, goes to Barcelona, single guy, bounces around, plays all over Barcelona, has a big time, like leading receiver in the league or something like that. Now he just signs a contract with some team in Paris, so he's going to do the same thing. I mean, you talk about a guy that knows how to play receiver and be a single guy. I mean, what a deal, huh? And then plus, if you knew this guy, it's I mean, I guarantee you, in his case, it's as fun as it can possibly be. And I'm going to have to take a road trip, go out there and supervise, see how Kyle's doing, see if he's keeping his hands together when he catches the ball. Now, I went through a run, though, at Texas Tech, where in close proximity had Wes Welker, Danny Amendola, Michael Crabtree. All three of them were incredibly confident people. And that's one thing that they all have. They're incredibly confident, and not always rationally confident. Sometimes it's just irrational. Oh, geez, and Wes would get pissed, but because I referred to him as a chicken hawk, and somehow he viewed that as insulting, because he reminded me of the chicken hawk on Foghorn Leghorn. And you'd go in there, and there'd be these guys from all over the state of Texas and Oklahoma and Louisiana, just chiseled up, muscles everywhere, tall, won the state championship in some kind of sprint or something, towering up there and looked like $1 million, but in their face, there was a little bit of doubt, just a little bit of doubt. I'm a freshman at a Big 12 school, and just a little bit of doubt. And then there's Wes Welker sitting there, chest puffed out, head high, did not win the state championship in anything that involved running, and ready to go, and confident. I mean, confident. Yeah, all you had to do is look at him. It was very clear. He knew who was on top, and he knew who the best receiver in the room was. And if you looked at it physically, it was like one of the most irrational thoughts a guy could have. He started every game he had as a college football player, left as the all-time leading punt returner in the history of college football. Danny Amendola, kind of similar to that, just a real gritty guy. Just one of those guys that physically you just can't overcome him because he never quits. Under any circumstance, he never quits. And then, and so he is incredibly competitive. And just refused to lose. I mean, these guys refuse to lose. I mean, we're not going to leave the field, okay, unless it was clearly resolved that they won, they weren't going anywhere. And then the other was Michael Crabtree. Now, Michael Crabtree was an incredibly talented guy. Michael Crabtree, well, he was a first round pick for one, but he was a guy that could have played Division I basketball. When you'd go to his basketball game or something, and he's going to score 50-some points. It would score more than occasionally the entire other team. And just tirelessly worked on his skills. Was kind of a loner. Got along great with everybody, and everybody loved him and respected him. And part of it is on the field, he is fearless. Off the field, kind of a shy, quiet person, but on the field, fearless. And, just the ultimate in dedication, motivation. You'd be in the office watching, because I watch film late at night, and I'd be in there watching film. You'd sense movement out there on the practice field. Something's moving. It's too big to be a rabbit, and then you look out there and, well, Michael Crabtree's got a, he's got a Coke can, he's got a dip can, and he's got a big gulp cup set up out there, and maybe a torn up cone where he's set up something where he's running routes and working on coming out of his cuts. And you go out there and you go, Michael, it's midnight. He goes, yeah. He goes, yeah, it's no big deal. I was sitting at the apartment and just got to thinking, if I come out of my cut like this instead of like this, I'll get the ball sooner and I'll be able to get upfield quicker and I can make the first guy miss. I go, yeah, well, that looks pretty good. Let's see it again. And he'd do it again. I go, how'd you get in here? I go, this thing's locked up. And it was like one of those deals with the barbed wire fence where it didn't have razor wire, but where they leave the sharp things going at the top, He goes, that's easy. I got a pair of cleats at home and just keep them at home and just threw them on, climbed over. He goes, I do it a lot. And then, he worked at it harder than other people did. The other thing, he's tougher than other people were. All three of those guys were tougher than other people were. And then I can go right down the line, with others at various different stops, places, and the rest that, and usually they're spread out a little bit more, but, that's the thing. The biggest thing is, people do about what they really, really want to, and if you really want to, you're probably going to be able to do it. I mean, I've met him. He wouldn't remember, but it was decades ago. But Jerry Rice is Jerry Rice because he first decided to be Jerry Rice. I mean, he decided it was more important to him than it was to other people, and you got to be one of those guys.
Coach Emmanuel Forbes, a Connerly finalist for you. Obviously done some
Who?
special. Emmanuel Forbes.
Yeah.
Done some special things for you out at corner over the course of his MSU career. Just what makes him so good, and as an offensive guy, when a defensive back is as good as he is, just how do you game plan for something like that?
Well, he's passionate about football. I mean, Forbes is a guy that's thinking about football when nobody else is. And Forbes is also a smart guy, and Forbes is a guy that, picks up little nuances and little tips and stuff that sometimes allows him to get a head start and trigger on something. He's got a really quick first step. He's undersized and needs to gain weight, but he does trigger to the ball and plays with a certain amount of power that exceeds kind of his size because he does get a quick start, and he is a fearless guy, and he's a very competitive guy, and he's one of the more competitive guys on our team. And, yeah, we certainly need more guys like him.